G'day and welcome into another episode of the Kiwi Football Fix. I am this guy right here, and you know what? We've been in Alert Level 3 lockdown here in Auckland and Alert Level 2 across the rest of the country. So we thought, why not take a wonderful opportunity to go strolling down memory lane with the Wellington Phoenix stalwart, that is Chris Greenacre. Enjoy this. Greenie, awesome to have you on the show, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Delighted to have me on the show. So, yeah, it's great to see you guys.
Mate, I thought today we'd just sort of go down memory lane, have a little bit of a stroll. I mean, I love nostalgia like you do probably as well. You know, you should hear the Spotify playlist that I've got going on in my car. It's nothing but late 90s, early noughties. And so let's go down memory lane. And I want to know, first of all, how does a guy, a UK footballer who's banging in goals for fun at Tranmere Rovers over the course of 5 years, all of a sudden wind up in Wellington? How and why did it occur, Greenie?
It was through chance, really. I had an old teammate of mine who was basically talking to an agent, and he wasn't really wanting to come back to Australia. He was quite, set up in the UK, and I'd obviously seen the highlight show of the A-League in the UK. The coverage was starting to be a bit more popular, and he just said to me, would it be something you fancied? And I said, yeah, I never say never. At the time I was injured, I'd fractured my foot, and then shortly afterwards I did my knee, and so you're kind of in a vein where you're not playing, you're a bit fed up with the world, and the dream of maybe playing in the sunshine and trying something different kind of came on the horizon. And basically the agent just gave me a call and just said, look, I've spoken to my client and said to him, I know someone else that might be interested in coming. And within, I think, 2 weeks, I kind of signed a contract and was on my way over. So it happened really, really quickly. So, yeah, snowballed from literally a life all set up in the UK to suddenly packing up everything and moving to the other side of the world. So it was a shock for my wife when I came home and said, look, we're going to New Zealand. Do you fancy it? And she was like, great, let's go for it. So, yeah, she was all good to go. And as soon as she was on board and I didn't really have to sell it to her too much. And she was happy to go. And here we are today. I originally signed a 2-year contract thinking I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here for. And suddenly I'm still here. So, and again, delighted to be here. Yeah,
part of the furniture, you'd say, but not like a tatty old lazy boy chair, more like a king's throne, I'd say. I mean, you've had such an impact on the club there. Take us back. The quality of the competition when you first arrived back in 2009, how did it actually compare to what you were playing over in England?
It was very similar. It was very similar. People always ask you the question, how does it compare? And, the way I kind of describe it is that there are players who could actually play at higher levels, and then there are players who can probably play in the lower levels, and it's kind of a mixture of that kind of thing. You have quality on the ball, you see fantastic goals, but again, you see mistakes as you do in any other league in the world. So from that front, it's very similar. So what was clear to me from early days was that if you think you're coming in on a holiday, you're sorely mistaken. And I think that's, there's probably been a handful of players in the past who've thought they'd come and see this as a holiday, and it certainly isn't. First and foremost, if you're not fit enough to compete in this league, then you'll go by the wayside. And the standard of football's of good quality, and that's why you see you're attracting, a lot of big names over here. Certainly when I suppose Del Piero came over here, he put the game up to another level, and I think the game's just gone from strength to strength, and long may that continue.
Yeah, when you first turned up, the team that the Wellington Phoenix had, the names are just legendary when you look through it. Paul Eiffel, who was just slotting goals for fun. Ben Sigmund, Andrew Durante as a young lad. You had a couple of younger kids. Costa Barbarouses, Marco Rojas, they were floating around. Who else? Daniel and Tim Brown in midfield. Geez, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, there was just some real quality there, but it kind of goes before itself. But the team spirit that we had at the club was fantastic. There isn't an ego to go with any of those names that you've just mentioned, and everyone was in Wellington for one particular reason, and that was the Phoenix. And the outward part of that was all the families and all the girlfriends and the wives were all together as well. So we'd go and play on away games, you know, and our camaraderie was great in the dressing room. But then back in Wellington, we had our wives and girlfriends had the similar kind of bond back in Wellington. So this family vibe that we had, you know, really helped us on the pitch. And I think that's why we were successful.
Yeah, talk about that success if you can, Greenie. In 2010, 2011, 2012, you guys are making the playoffs and going deep. Those times, they were insane. I'm thinking about, was it a playoff match against Perth, a playoff match against Newcastle at Wellington in front of 24 and 32,000 people? We haven't seen the like of it since.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think, you know, obviously you mentioned 2010 with the World Cup bid. And I think, you know, the All Whites did fantastically well. We had the famous game at the Westpac that the whole city and the whole country got behind. And we kind of built on the back of that. And as you say, those fantastic crowds, and to see the Westpac that full, watching soccer is just a memory that I'll never forget. You know, unfortunately, we weren't able to get to that grand final. We lost, you know, to Sydney under, you know, horrible circumstances where, you know, to this day we know it was a handball that went in and that arguably cost us a place in the grand final. But to see the whole of Wellington come out and to support the club was just fantastic memory and something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
You had the opportunity to, I guess, elevate your position within the Phoenix. Ricky Herbert extended to you an opportunity to become an assistant coach. Was that something that had lured you to Wellington in the first place? You say that you signed a 2-year deal, but dreams and aspirations of becoming a manager, is that what also aided the move? Not
really, because at that time, although I'd kind of started on the journey to gaining my coaching qualifications, it was always the playing that came first, and the coaching qualifications were kind of a life after football. You know, you kind of get to your 30s and then it's kind of, well, I haven't made enough money that I can go and play golf every day, so I'm going to have another job, another interest. And you know, there are players right now that are going through similar circumstances. Like, what am I going to do? And it's a reality. And I think a lot's been highlighted with mental health and a lot of problems with players who actually don't know what to do when they finish playing, and kind of, I didn't want to go into that situation. So that's the reason why I began my coaching badges. When I came here, it was fully focused on playing. That's all I wanted to do, was to do the best I probably could for the Phoenix. And as I say, I'll never forget that opportunity that Ricky gave me to be part of his coaching team. And I think you kind of weigh up, hopefully, the longevity now. Obviously, you can't play forever. The body's not going to hold up. So, you know, what's the next best thing, and hopefully the longevity moving forward for me, my family, and what I need out of the game. And, you know, Ricky gave me that opportunity. So, you know, I'll be forever grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, Ricky did wonderful things with the Wellington Phoenix. That cannot be argued. And then all of a sudden, you're his assistant coach, but he leaves the club. What did he leave? Was it fair and just, his departure, do you think? And then also, with you in mind, what are you thinking when all of a sudden the guy who gave you your chance, he walks out the door? Does that mean your opportunity walks out with him?
To be honest, it took me by surprise as much as anyone, him leaving the club. And you know, I'll be quite honest. It was to only be in the job for a short time, to be then put in that position was something, just an absolute bolt out of the lightning. You know, I certainly wasn't ready for it, and I'm quite open and honest about that. You know, you've got a coach who's just been to the World Cup, been very, very successful, to come back, and a good leader. He'd put together a squad of players, as I mentioned, who had a good camaraderie. I'd now moved to the coaching staff, and it was a really difficult time, and as I say, I wasn't ready for it. But you kind of sink or swim. And Jonathan Gould, who was a goalkeeper coach at the time, you know, it took Jonathan by surprise as well. And I remember the pair of us, we kind of went to a coffee shop and we kind of went, wow. And one piece of advice that Jonathan gave me, and that will stay with me forever, was that it's a horrible circumstance whenever anyone loses their job in soccer, in whatever it is. But unfortunately, in sport, the game moves on very, very quickly. And I think within a matter of 2 or 3 days, we had a game coming up. So we kind of didn't have a chance to sort of go, wow, what do we do? We had to kind of get on with it, and that's how it was left. And again, I think in the long term, that's a learning curve you have as a coach, that things that you have to deal with. And we certainly tried to do that. And you either sink or swim, and we certainly tried to swim.
I don't really know how to describe the next guy, Dario Vidosic, because as a Wellington Phoenix supporter, I've supported you guys right from the word go. That was a really tough time to support the team when you've got a coach who's unfamiliar with New Zealand footballers, unfamiliar with the A-League in general, and he had a way about him that rubbed people up the wrong way. You weren't an assistant coach of Dario's, but you were still in with the club. Can you tell us a little bit about his time there and why it was so unsuccessful?
I think you probably nailed it. I think maybe his understanding of the A-League and what the A-League was about maybe caught him by surprise. Whether he was expecting more, I can't really answer that. But for me, looking from the outside, from the reserve point of view, the club, I think, suddenly lacked a bit of a direction on the playing front. I think, and I think even now we have a contingency plan. We have, the reserve team are playing similarly to the first team. There's a continuation for the players to follow. And we didn't seem to have that, and we had that previously with Ernie. So for me now, being with the academy or with the reserve team, I personally didn't have a real direction. And that's right or wrong, and everyone has a different opinion on how a club should be run. But I think for me, probably his understanding of maybe the level that the A-League wasn't up to what he was maybe used to. And me personally, I think that's how he found it a difficult time for him.
How were the players throughout? Because I got the sense that towards the end of his short reign, they were upset with him, for want of a better term. What did you see in those players?
Oh, I think, to be honest, players are never happy when the results aren't going for them. And to be fair, there were 1 or 2 performances that were very, very, very good. But also then, you kind of losing becomes a habit. And I think, we lost a number of games, and there came a little bit of, I suppose, problems in the dressing room. Not so much at the coach, but what all sport teams are like when things aren't going kind of too well. People start having a dig at each other, and it was just I suppose, a bit of unrest like that, and that doesn't bode well if the dressing room seems to go. But by the end of it, I think the coach had probably lost the dressing room, and that's always very difficult to maybe reverse when things go too far, and that was kind of my view on it.
And then I suppose good old Greenie to the rescue again. A familiar face comes into the dressing room, and they're probably like, all right, cool, we can just get rid of that bad memory and replace it with a good one. Was it difficult to pick them back up after that experience? Or did you find it pretty easy?
No, never easy. I think you are. That's what you're trying to do. You've got a small amount of time. You've got a small window of opportunity. The games are coming thick and fast. The morale's not particularly good, and immediately you're trying to put maybe your stamp on how you think the team should go. You've got all the other stuff to contend with. You've got injuries. Bookings, sendings off. You name it. I've kind of dealt with it, and. We would just have to pick the players up the best we can, and that's what we did. And again, you're trying to release the shackles from the players. That's gone now. The opinions that the other coach maybe had of you as an individual, that's gone now. There's a fresh slate now. Want you to work as hard as you can on a daily basis to get yourself into the team, and we'll go from there. And that's pretty much how I've kind of looked at it. Having said that, this time round, personally, I was more prepared. I was better prepared, and the experiences that I learnt from the previous times kind of stood me in good stead. And it's good to look back now that there are things that I did differently, stood me in good stead. And I had good staff around me who were really willing to help, and that's all I could have asked for them.
So at that time, you say that you were in a better position. You were, I suppose, you know, you'd had those years to learn your craft a little bit better. At that stage, when Kalisic goes and they're searching for a new head coach, how badly did you want to take the reins?
I wasn't that overly concerned with it. I'll be brutally honest. I wasn't that. I haven't been from day one a coach that goes, you know what, this is something I really need and right now, and you know, hopefully in the future at some point, you know, that opportunity comes. Who knows? And I would deal with that if it arose. But I've never been one to really want to go out there and go, yes, this is what I want. This is how it's got to be. And where I know other people who are like, yes, that's what I want right now. You know, this is a long journey for me. You know, I've still got lots to learn, as we all are as coaches. You're learning on a daily basis different things, and you know, I aren't in a rush to get there. And again, if the opportunity doesn't arrive, it doesn't arrive. You know, I'm just trying to keep working on a daily basis with the current coaching staff that I'm with, and again, trying to improve as an individual. You know, working away on, you know, my pro license as we speak, and hopefully when those qualifications come in, that's another string to my bow. And yeah, we'll take it from there. And that's kind of how it's been for quite a while, to be honest.
Tell me a bit about Mark Rudan, because he came in and he charmed the pants off me. The charisma of the bloke, the ability to talk, you know, it was the exact opposite from what we had with Dario Kalisic. And then as he's wooing me with his siren song, he rips my heart out and wanders back across the ditch. What happened there?
Well, yeah, you know, that kind of happened with all of us. You know, we were disappointed for him to leave the way that he did, but you know, he's got his reasons why he did what he did. But you know, from a coaching point of view, you know, the way he can motivate a team and motivate you know, individuals is a real strength of his. Like you say, he can talk. He's got a real way with how he speaks to people, and certainly, you know, a player in a dressing room, when you've got Mark Rudan talking you know, and motivating you the way he did, you know, you see why you've got a lot of it gets a lot of impact. So you know, that's certainly a real strength of his, and yeah, we were all with him, and then, you know, unfortunately he got what he probably saw as a better opportunity, and he took it, and again, we were, you know, back to square one, as it were.
Yeah, not only did he take the opportunity, Greenie, but he also took Phoenix stalwart Andrew Durante. And so, you know, Phoenix fans, they're a little bit upset with him still. I don't know how much light you can shed on the whole situation there, but when you've got the club captain and he's now played more than 400 A-League games, Andrew Durante, what actually went down there to usher him out of the club and back across the ditch?
I think only probably Jura and Mark can answer that. You know, I'm not really, you know, in the know to know the details of what happened, but I think it's no excuse. You know, Jura was a fantastic stalwart for our club and was a legend, club captain, and did a fantastic job. And you know, supporters will always be upset at players moving and what have you. But that's the beauty of the game. That's why we love the game. You know, it gives them an opportunity to smash, you know, both Mark and Jura when he comes to the Westpac, and you know. And that's great. You know, we've all been fans and we've all done that. So, but the inner details, again, is probably, you know, not what I know really. So you probably have to ask those guys.
Well, the most puzzling thing for me is how he can play alongside Besart Berisha. I mean, when he was wearing black and yellow, he hated the guy.
I know. It's crazy, eh? But hey, it is what it is.
You're now sitting alongside Ufuk Talay. Where does he sit? I mean, you've obviously had a lot of different experiences with a number of coaches, Ricky Herbert, Ernie Merrick, Des Buckingham, who I haven't even mentioned. You cleaned up Dario's mess, Mark Rudan. Where does Ufi sit amongst those coaches that you've worked so closely with?
He's right at the top, and that's not just me saying, because I work with him closely now. Again, similar to Ernie, that he's come in with an identity of what he wants and how he wants to see a club run. And again, I think it's not just the coaches; the whole environment's been lifted by what he's brought to the club. You know, he's very, very, you know, successful, very experienced, knows the game inside out. and his knowledge of the game is exceptional, and up with some of the best coaches that I've played under. His attention to detail is through the roof. It's on another level, and there's no reason for me why we're playing the brand of football that we're playing, and the way the environment's going. And long may that continue, because he's certainly the right man for the job.
Chris, you arrived at the club in 2009. It's now 2021, and so by my count, it puts you in your 13th year with the club. So why do you think you have endured through those years?
I think the moment we arrived in New Zealand, we wanted to embrace the country, wanted to embrace the culture, and become Kiwis. And I think that's really important. Whenever you move to an environment, wherever it is in the world, a new working environment, even in the same country, you need to kind of become one of their own, and that's what we tried to do. And I certainly feel that's why we're still here. I love being at the club, love playing for the club, love coaching at the club. My wife works at the club. It's part of our life. I can't. Sorry. Oh my goodness me!
We'll go with take 3. Nah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good, mate. You can just pick up. You can just pick up. Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter. She was born here, which we're very, very proud of. And we're just us. And I can't really say why, but New Zealand's been very, very good for me and my family, and I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity that New Zealand's brought to me and my family.
Well, we're glad to have you here, mate. We really are. Special people like you don't come along every rainfall, so you are more than welcome in New Zealand. You can stay put. Well, once you get back from Australia, of course. Look, I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but just a couple of quick ones if I can, Greenie. Just a bunch of quick-fire questions. You can respond, elaborate as you see fit. Who's the best Kiwi talent that you've seen during your time at the Knicks?
As Kiwi talent, probably Marco Rojas.
Marco Rojas. Do you think we got the best out of him, or did he play his best football in the A-League away from home?
Oh, I think he's played his best football away from home. Obviously, Marco was, a special young talent, and something that the Yellow Fever are very proud of helping find. And I think he's gone on to do what he's done because the potential was always there. I think we just saw a glimmer of his potential at the Knicks, and I think it's clear for him all to see. And we hope he makes a speedy recovery, obviously after his recent game and his recent injury. So hope he's all well. But he was probably the best natural talent, I think.
You're probably not going to want to answer this one, but I'm going to put it to you anyway, mate. You just never know. I might get lucky. A New Zealander who didn't quite fulfil their potential.
Didn't quite fulfil their potential. I'd say probably Costa Barbarouses while he was at the club. I think Costa needed to leave the club when he did, and he needed to go. I think he went to Brisbane Roar, and he certainly learnt his trade there. And I think we then saw the best of Costa probably against us, in the future. So I think at the time people say that Costa should have remained at the club and stuff, but he needed to get away and for him to improve himself, and I think he certainly did that. Lastly,
Greenie, what happens next for you? You're obviously assistant coach with Uffy. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm, the longevity now hopefully is in coaching, and I can remain where I am and, keep improving. As I say, if an opportunity came to be a head coach at any point, again, that's something that you would look at, but it's not something that I want to go out of my way and really sort of demand. I know the flaws in my development and what I need to improve on personally, and I'm certainly working hard to try and improve those. So again, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be involved in professional sport in New Zealand and this part of the world, and I want to give back to a game that I love. And this is the next best thing to playing is being on the park with the players every day, love working with the players, and you know, as I say, it's certainly the next best place to be.
You're a Wellington Phoenix icon, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Fantastic to chat. Chris Greenacre, thanks so much for your time, man. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Take care.